Jana,
Hey.
tell me how to blog the lazy way but still get clients.
The lazy way.
Does that
Yes,
mean in my pajamas?
absolutely it does. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's funny because like about a year ago during a launch, I sent out an email talking about some different things that I see people, specifically my types of people, coaches, service providers, practitioners doing on their blogs that are
Hmm.
like, it just creates a lot of things that create a lot of extra work, but don't actually help them get better results. And I got an email back from someone and said, I love this. It's like I can blog the lazy way and I'll still get clients. And I was like, okay. And the next time I
Using
sent
that.
out, yeah, the next time I sent out that email, I think I used that as the subject line. So that's where like that phrase came from, which is like just a side lesson, by the way, like listen to the words your people use and like use them, right? Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I think that when I say the lazy way, I don't mean that in like a negative way or whatever. And of course, I don't think that what I teach is like, lazy or doesn't require some work. It does. But I really want to make sure that the people who blog my way, the way I teach in my program, high leverage content, where you're blogging to get clients, not for other reasons. I want to make sure they're not wasting a bunch of time on strategies that don't help them.
Yeah.
And I really do believe actually that that person was right, that like you can kind of like you can cut a lot of fluff basically out of your blogging process and still get clients because you're doing things efficiently and you're focusing your time and your energy on doing the things that are actually going to get you clients from your blog versus a lot of extra stuff that you learned you're supposed to do because, you learned from like a strategy that's more for bloggers or for someone that's not, someone that's has the goal of getting clients. So that's where
Yeah.
that whole phraseology came from, the lazy way. So yeah, that's what we're talking about
I
today.
love that so much though.
I
I'm
know,
just,
I know.
I'm just realizing I didn't bring any headphones or anything in here. Does my audio sound okay today?
It sounds fine to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to be sure
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm gonna have to go digging around elsewhere. I don't
No, I
want to
don't
do
think you need to. I think it sounds good.
that.
Yep.
I was telling you earlier that I also teach people to just like it feels lazy, but it's like boiling it down to the most simplest things you can do to get to the
Exactly.
product and still get results.
That's it. Minimum
And
viable. Minimum viable.
if people think that like large corporations aren't doing this too, like they
Mm.
are.
Oh yeah.
They're doing whatever they can to get people in the door, and they're going to do it at the cheapest price possible.
Yep.
Um,
It's really just like optimizing a process and
yeah,
identifying like what parts of this process are moving the needle for me and what parts of it are not, but I'm still just doing because somebody once told me I should be doing it,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
And oftentimes there are things once you have your workflow dialed in that you could go back and do
Hmm.
with any marketing workflow. Like there's always more you can do, but is
Yeah.
it necessary? That's really the ultimate thing for today's conversation.
Right.
And
It's
um,
it's kind of like the 80-20 rule too, right? It's like 80% of what is it? Like the 20% of what you do is what gets you the 80% of results. So like let's try to figure out what that 20% is and spend the most time on it, right?
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So as you are in HLC talking about and teaching your students about where they spend their time and the
Hmm.
tactics and the resources,
Hmm.
um, like where does someone even think about this? Like what do
Yeah.
you even mean by blogging the lazy way without giving away the whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that we should be looking at these processes and thinking like, where can we really cut corners, And I mean, again, that has a negative connotation, and I don't necessarily mean it that way. Same thing with the word lazy. But where can you and where should you? So I really want my students to come in and have the belief and know that it is true that all you need, if you are, again, a coach, a service provider, a practitioner whose goal is to get clients with your blog, not someone who is a blogger who monetizes in a different way, right? Bloggers are needing to get a lot of traffic so they can monetize with like ads, like what do you call them? Like display ads, like through Mediavine and
Yeah.
organizations like that. Bloggers are going to add lots of affiliate links typically, not always, but some of them have that strategy. But I want my students to remember that their goal is to get clients with their blog. And so all they need is a straightforward,
Mhm.
user-friendly way to add their main pieces of thought leadership to their website to make sure that their blog has the key things that their audience needs to learn and hear and understand more deeply to be ready to buy their offers. And really just going in with the mindset that like your words on your blog are what people need to convert. They don't
Yeah.
need to see fancy graphics on your website. They don't need to, see like, lots of links to like the tools that you use to implement the thing that you're talking about in the blog.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that we see when we're looking at someone's like sophisticated blogger style blog,
Mhm.
and we look at them and we think like, oh, I should have that on my blog. But when you're starting a blog and your goal is to get clients with it, you really don't need all of that. I'm not saying that you don't ever want to add it down the road if you want to and add different like streams of income. It's not like off the table. But if
Yeah.
you're trying to do all those things, it gets confusing and you're spending time doing things like trying to add, a pin it button for Pinterest and trying to add like multiple graphics to each blog post and trying to make sure that um, you have like perfect not only heading twos, which I do believe are important, but also like heading threes and heading fours.
Yeah.
For example, one of the things I teach my students is like, I want you to have heading twos, but if you don't have any heading threes or any heading fours in your blog right now, that's totally fine. I don't want you to worry about
Yeah.
stuff like that right now, right? So you just need a straightforward, user-friendly area. Now, again, when I say you don't need fancy formatting, that doesn't mean that your blog shouldn't be easy to read and user-friendly. Like it does need to be that way. And I have a lesson
Yeah.
inside the program that basically is like what's important and what's not. What's important is having like an easy to read experience. So like it should load quickly. The background color of your blog should be like a light color with dark font so that it's easy to
Mhm.
read on the eyes. I had a client years ago who had this like I don't know what they were thinking when they designed her website. It was on Wix, and not that Wix is a good platform. I'm just saying for some reason I remember that it was. It had this like goldenrod color background, and then the font was like kind of small. And instead of being like a black or a navy, it was like this like medium gray kind of thing, like less saturated than a black. And it was so hard to read. And I remember saying I was doing her Pinterest setup, and I remember saying to her, like, I can get you traffic from Pinterest, but like people are going to bounce off your website because it's hard to read, you know? And she was like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So
Yeah. It
anyway,
is.
like things like that, right? So I would say that like my typical HLC student who comes into HLC and makes sales with their blog, they definitely don't need a lot of fancy formatting. They don't need multiple graphics. I say have one header graphic. If you're doing Pinterest, you could have a pin, but I don't even believe these days, to be honest, that coaches and service providers who are doing Pinterest and their blog even need to have a pin embedded in their blog post anymore because there are reasons why, that works really well. But it's just, again, if we're thinking about that 80/20, it's not really that 20% of the effort that gets you the 80% of the results type of thing when you
Yeah.
have a pin in there. We could talk about that more in a few minutes in case anybody listening is like, wait, what? I thought you were supposed to have a pin. Um, but yeah, that's not, that's really something where you can be like lazy as long as you've got the basics done well, where like the background is light, the fonts are large enough to read, they're dark,
Yeah.
things like that. It's your words that we're focusing on that are going to be the thing that helps people know and hear and learn the things and understand the things more deeply to be ready to buy, not the images that you're adding and stuff like that. So that would be one example. I'm going to pause because I'm talking a lot, but I have other examples. So,
I have a thought,
mm,
actually, that goes along with the Pinterest image and the blog post thing. I am in the process of offboarding a blogging client right now, actually.
mhm.
And the only reason we're offboarding is because they want their internal team to handle their marketing. Great. Let
Yeah.
me show you what to do so you guys feel secure and confident going forward.
Mhm.
So we were on a call last week and they asked, like, do we even need to like put blog like pin images in our blog post anymore?
Mhm.
Because that was something that we really prioritized years ago. And then we
Yeah.
just kind of got away from it and we don't really know why.
Oh, they got
And then
away from doing it. Okay.
I started like asking him questions, and
Hmm.
I already knew the answers because of
Hmm.
past conversations.
Right, but
But
you want to verify that you've got the facts
yeah,
correct, right?
and I asked like, where's the majority of your traffic coming from?
Hmm.
Email.
Hmm.
emails the majority of their traffic to their
Hmm.
website. I'm like, okay, well, is there any data to show that people are going from email to, you know, blog post to Pinterest and then back to blog post? Like,
Hmm.
do you even know what the life cycle of your users are?
Hmm.
No, we don't. So I was like, then why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
If the majority of your traffic is coming from email, now if you told me the majority of your traffic was coming from Pinterest,
Yeah.
it's not, then I would tell you probably should prioritize that. So you
Right.
can definitely make these decisions
Yep. Based
once
on
you
what you know
have
about
a
your data. Hmm.
set of data to read.
Right. Good point.
But,
Hmm.
you know, industries and traffic sources, generally speaking, will tell you kind of what you should lean towards when you're
Hmm.
making these decisions.
Yeah.
Um, and just know you're never married to it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
can change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. You can always change your mind. And that's the beauty of a blog too. That's one of the reasons I love a blog as your capsule library of long form content because you can always change it. If you decide down the road that, you know what, my Pinterest has been growing, I am getting more people who are coming from Pinterest to my blog. And so I do want there to be a pin it button there so that those people will, because we'll talk about what the actual reason is. We have the pin it button in a few minutes. But if that changes, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you've written 18 blog posts if you're writing a capsule
Mhm.
library the way I teach it. So, that's like anywhere between 12 and 20. So if you write 18, that just means that you or your team need to go back and add pins to 18 blog posts. And you could even just add it
That's
to the top,
nothing.
right? You could even say, like, actually, I'm only going to add it to these eight because these are the ones that I get the most traffic from Pinterest to. Right. So, like, you can always change it. It's so easy. It's not like if you were creating a blog every single week, the way that some blogging coaches teach you to do it, which is not how
Hmm.
I do it. I do a capsule library instead, where you create 12 to 20 blogs and then you stop blogging. Um, if you were, if you had, dozens of them, then it would be like, okay, now it's going to be a big project to go back and add pins. But if you have a capsule library, it's never a big project to go back and optimize your blogs for some sort of thing like that. And then
Yeah.
meanwhile, people who are starting their blogs, I don't want them to get bogged down with having a list of 20 things that they need to do, like add a pin it button and, add heading fours and make sure that you have an SEO keyword that you're writing for and all that stuff. Because otherwise, what happens is they don't finish blog posts, they don't post them, they get caught in perfectionism, and then they never develop any kind of domain authority anyway because they don't have a blog. And
Yeah.
it's just like this like never ending maybe I'll do it sometime in the future when I have time to do it perfectly and have all these things on my blog checklist.
And then
So
ultimately you don't end up learning the skill of blogging and writing to
con
attract an audience.
right,
And
and
you're really,
conversion content, right? Hmm.
yeah, and you're losing out on really valuable skills that are transferable. So if this business doesn't work out or you end up not wanting to continue doing this business and you
Yeah.
shut it down
Or you
and
pivot to
pivot
a
to do
different
something else,
offer. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, then well, we're starting over again. Like we're starting
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cycle over again at zero. So where
Right.
do we begin?
Right. And let me say that in a different way, just to so it might land for people who would hear it this way and kind of get it. Like, um, oh shoot, it just popped out of my head. Sorry. I was thinking like another way to say that is, and now I just totally like lost it. Oh, I know. Like if you're in my program, high leverage content, I would rather have you spend an hour, if you have it this week, studying the strategic outline that I have for the type of blog post that you're currently writing, because I give you 9 strategic outlines for the 9 types of blog posts that I teach you to write.
Yeah.
I would rather have you spend that hour studying that outline and getting ready to outline and then write your next piece of high converting content on your site than have you spend an hour trying to, design Pinterest pins so that you can add a pin it button if that pin it button is going to get used twice in the next year by your
Mhm.
readers. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what it is what you're saying. It's like, develop the skill of that you've like come to the program to learn, which is how to write
Yeah.
content that gets people buying,
Yeah.
right? Don't get stuck on the thing that you think you're supposed to be doing on your blog, but isn't
Mhm.
actually going to be the thing that moves the needle and makes you money, gets you the client, gets you to the end goal.
I think it's important to remember why you are doing things to begin with, and especially why you
Right,
join courses, because
right.
ultimately you're there to learn how to become the person that needs to do this thing, which is ultimately learning a skill.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And not to make this whole live stream about like the pin it button. We should just rename this like, do you need a pin it button? But like, just to be clear too, I think we should also say that for people who aren't really Pinterest savvy, who are here on the channel, which I know is most people, know about Pinterest, but when you add a pin and a pin it button, which is sometimes like a, like a extension that you add or something like
yeah.
that, not an extension, what's it called? Like a plugin or something.
Yeah.
It basically, you do that so that people who are avid pinners will see that see that button when they're reading your blog, and they'll go like, yeah, I want to save this for later. I'm going to pin this from the blog post while I'm reading the blog post
Hmm.
to my board that's called, for me, it would be like marketing or coaching business or,
Yeah.
web design business or whatever that is. In fact, when I was adding pins regularly to my blog posts, which I do sometimes still do, because I do have a lot of avid Pinterest users in my audience, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I would actually say above the pin, I would say, like, I'd say like PSSST, the pst sound. You can add this, you can, use the button to pin this pin to your, and I would actually suggest the title of a board, like
Mm.
online business board or coaching business board or marketing board or something like that.
Yep.
Um, and again, like the thought there is that people who are already on your blog, who are also avid pinners, they're in the habit of thinking, oh yeah, I should save this to my Pinterest board, so I will. But if you're someone who does not have a lot of avid pinners in your audience,
Yep.
then adding that pin it button might not be worth it to you because, like I said, it might get used twice in the next year, right? So that's just to, spell out the strategy so people understand and why you might want to have it versus why you
Hmm.
might think it's not really part of that 20% that gets you 80% of the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat and then we'll move on. That mom with
No more
the
pin it button
laser.
talk.
This person's name is that mom with the laser. So
Cool. I love
um,
it.
this person says, I can't wait to learn about this. I was reading recently that blogging is, quote, coming back. How true is this? And then she just chatted again. I know enough to browse, but not use it for my business efficiently, probably the pin it button.
Yeah.
How true is it that blogging, in your opinion, is making a comeback, Jana?
Yeah. So I think that it's making a comeback for people who are like coaches and service providers and probably I would say like product sellers as well. I don't think it ever really went away for a lot of people. And so a
Yeah.
lot of times you'll see people say like, no, blogging never went away and whatnot. But I do believe you're right that even though there's a lot of people saying, what, blogging never went away? How can it come back if it never went away? There's a re-energization out
Yeah.
there among people who would like to use it as a primary strategy. And I also would like to believe, I think this is true, that I am leading a movement.
Hmm.
Um, and I honestly think that what I put out there for content is making a difference with this movement so that business owners understand that if you're a business owner, having a blog as a business owner is different than having a blog as a blogger. So basically, having a blog for your business to help you get clients and make sales is different than having a blog that you monetize
Hmm.
as your business. So your blog isn't your business. Your blog is a tool to get more sales for your business. And so
And
for
that's,
people like that, there's a huge resurgence because it's a more quiet marketing platform. It's more sustainable, and there's a huge movement away from social media. People don't want social media as much, and they're like, okay, but if I'm not posting every day on social media, where is my thought leadership going to live? I have a lot to say. So
mhm.
people are realizing again, or re-realizing, that having it on your blog is actually better for your business in a lot of ways than having, it all on your social media, which is over in left field and nowhere near the buy button for your offers.
No,
So,
and it's oftentimes buried and hard to parse through.
mhm,
The same thing that you just said is also true for e-commerce stores who have a main product that they're selling, but I
mhm.
always tell them that they should have a blog anyways.
Yep, yep,
Because there's so many people that are looking for your product that are not necessarily ready to go to a shopping cart and they're not ready to look at
mhm,
your products that you have in your store,
mhm.
nor do they even know that you have them. So I have a really kind of off the wall example for this, and I swear we'll go back on track for coaches and service providers.
No,
But
go
when
ahead.
I built my office with my husband we broke ground in December of 2022
Hmm.
and
Your office.
yeah, and then we finished it off in the spring, like it took us into the spring of the following year, 2023, to finish it.
Hmm.
But one of the things that took us so long was the siding, and I wanted a really nice wood looking siding on the side of the building because we live
Hmm.
in Tucson. Like
Yeah.
plastic siding is just going to get destroyed, and all the houses
Yeah.
are brick or stucco, and brick and stucco are extremely expensive.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what was the next best thing? Like a wood type siding. So I ended up getting this like hardy board siding or whatever.
Hmm.
And it took me forever to figure out, okay, well, we don't know how to do siding. Like, how are we going to do this? So I
Hmm.
Googled it
Hmm.
and I found a tool that helps you to properly hang the siding
Hmm.
and then nail it in. And it's
Hmm.
like perfectly placed every single time.
Hmm.
And had I not found this blog post that then led me to the product, I never would
Hmm.
have known to go to
Right.
Lowe's and buy that
Right.
product.
Right. Right. And this is a great example of what I say. What does your audience need to learn and hear and understand more deeply to feel ready to buy? Well, in this case, you needed to know that this is doable for you and your husband. You needed to see the process, you needed to see the tool that's going to make
Like,
it so that buying this product isn't going to be a waste of your money. Like it's not just going to
thank
sit
you.
there and you're not going to know how to put it up. You needed to know that this is something you guys can do and how you'll do it. And then you were ready to buy the product. So it's perfect.
Isn't she cute? I can't wait to be back in my little office in
Oh,
July.
yes, your little office. Yeah, I know. Wait, can I see it again? Sorry.
And Jana's seen my little office.
I've
She's
seen
been
it in
in
real
it.
life, and I'm going to
You
again.
have.
Yes. And it's so pretty with the background in Arizona too, the
Yeah,
sunset
it's
there. So pretty.
beautiful.
Yeah, so pretty.
Um,
Anyway,
that mom with the laser says I hopped in when I saw the notification. Can Jana share what her services are related to blogs?
yes. So I run a program called High Leverage Content, and it is a course with support. So it's kind of like a group coaching program, but it's mostly curriculum based. And there's three parts of it. In the first part, you learn how to identify what exactly your audience needs to hear and learn and understand more
Yeah.
deeply to feel ready to buy. That's the first third where we develop the topics and the content plan. In the second third, you write the blog posts. So I actually show you the structure to use for a high converting blog post. We build the capsule library, which is 12 to 20 blog posts that cover all those key
Yep.
things. And then the third part is all about leveraging what you've already created, those 12 to 20 blog posts. So I teach you repurposing workflows and how to use your blogs in your sales process and things like that. And we're actually opening, just coincidentally, I've been spending the last like 4 weeks where we haven't been accepting new students. We've been driving to a wait list for for this launch essentially. So I'm launching, but tomorrow the car is. And it's
Yay.
just a kind of a coincidence. We talk about this program all the time on this
All the
channel,
time.
but yeah, tomorrow morning the cart's opening. So if you want to join, you'll be able to join starting tomorrow morning. So you can go to my website. It's janaomedia.com. And then in the upper right hand corner under work with me, it's high leverage content. As of right now, if you go, you'll be adding your name to the wait list. And I actually would encourage you to do that right now if you want to join tomorrow, because even though, we're opening tomorrow and you're not going to forget, if you join the wait list, you actually get a really awesome bonus, which is 10 topics that I do for you. I choose topics for you for your blog. So if you join the waitlist before tonight at
That's
midnight,
a
you'll
killer
get the
bonus.
bonus. Yeah.
10?
Yeah. Yeah. I did them last
Like
time for last
two?
launch and everyone loved them. So I brought it back out. Yeah. Yeah. I know
That's
it's,
incredible.
yeah, it's a little bit labor intensive on our end, on my end, my team. And
Yeah.
I do all the brain part of it. And we don't use, it's not just like an AI list. It's my brain giving you your list. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to offering them again, to doing them all again for the new people who start joining tomorrow. So yeah, so just to get, nah, I'm kind of off topic, but that's the program that I offer. That's the only
Yep.
way to work with me. I do like one-off strategy calls, but I can't like teach a whole like content strategy in a one-off strategy call, so it's not something I sell a lot of. You want the whole
No.
curriculum and the whole program. And we do have some support in the program too. So we do monthly group calls. You get to unlock bonuses where you get one-to-one calls with me. And we have
Mhm.
a very active student support group where you can post your questions and get input and answers from me. So
Yep. Remote Beginning says it's true. Jana's free training was a huge eye opener for me.
Oh, thank you.
And that mom with the laser says she's going to look it up. I
Okay,
think
cool.
you
Yeah.
should. Even if you just put yourself on her wait list,
Hmm.
it's an eye opener to see how she does long form content in the form of email, but then also just like check out her blog and read it because
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
she does what she says that she does and she does what she
Yeah.
teaches.
Yeah.
So,
Walking the walk over on my own capsule blog. Yep.
exactly. Now, in
Yeah.
terms of um it's making a resurgence, I think one of the big
Hmm.
reasons why it's making a resurgence is because a lot of people are using AI tools to do research for them and to
Mm.
help them to find
Yeah.
solutions they otherwise wouldn't find. I know I have for the, and I think we talked about this last week, the better part of 6 years now, written specifically like a, like a question-based, like question answer based style blog post where
Hmm.
I'll take questions from Google and I answer them in my blog posts.
Hmm.
And I create content around that. So then
Hmm.
when people are in AI tools and they're searching for like, how do I create a Pinterest pin for an e-commerce store?
Yep.
It can bring up content that's answering that exact
Hmm.
solution, like that problem. So it's
Yep.
giving you a solution in the list of links. And a lot of my
Hmm.
content actually comes up in as supporting,
Yeah.
sources and as solutions to questions that people ask AI tools.
Yeah.
So I think
Amazing.
that is a
Yeah, I think
another
you're right.
reason
That's
why.
right. It's driving people's
Mhm.
re-engagement with the idea of having a blog on their website. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's called AIO instead of
Hmm.
SEO. It's called AIO, AI
Hmm.
optimization.
Yep.
And I think it's just a really good way if you're answering, and especially if you're using Jenna's model, you're going to likely come up in AI search results because of the natural way that you're writing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think
Yep.
that's another reason why blogging might be making a comeback for some industries,
Hmm.
making a comeback in quotes because you put them
Yeah.
in quotes too as well.
Yeah.
The person that asked that
Oh, did she say
question.
that? She's like kind of like, yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of know that it's like, yeah, it's never really gone away, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So what?
I was just going to say really quickly that with AIO and what I teach in HLC, which is called Unforced SEO, we did a couple of episodes on this channel, a couple of live streams about unforced SEO. And I would suggest
Mhm.
if you want to learn about um, how I teach it, to watch those or go to my blog post about unforced SEO, which is literally at janaomedia.com/unforced dash SEO to learn how I teach it, because I do teach it a little differently than most people who teach blogging. So
I love that. I actually found that so easily. So I'm just gonna pop that into the
oh, thank you.
replay chat, and then we can put it in the description later
You're
too.
so good. You're the best multitasker.
Yeah,
Moms
try.
are so good. This is the thing I've noticed is like people who are moms are the best multitaskers. And I am not a
I've
mom and I am
learned to
not a good
have
multitasker.
I've learned to have two ears over the years,
Yeah.
but multitasking really is it's not good for you.
It's
Like
not the
it's
best
not.
for your brain. Yeah, yeah.
No.
But it's also, I mean, I think it's very normal. It's just like part of things. It's like you grabbing that and putting it in the chat. Like I don't even think to do that. I'm just like sitting here like
It took
smiling and
2 seconds.
answering questions.
Took 2 seconds. It's
You're so
already done.
good. You know,
Okay.
it's probably your two beverages too.
My two beverages. I have brown tea, brown water, and clear water. I
Yes.
have
Right
tea and
before right
water.
before we hit record on this live stream, Heather was like, I have two beverages with me. I'm like, great. This is going to be a good live
Well,
stream.
that's because 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I drank from a teapot on live because
Oh
I had
yeah, so you're like, no,
to
this time we're
go.
going to have like lots of beverages that are not teapots. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh
She's
my
like,
God.
that was so funny. If you didn't see that live stream, like halfway through the live stream, she was like, okay, listen, everybody, you're gonna like freak out when you see what I'm about to do, but I'm so thirsty and I don't want to get up. So she takes the whole teapot and goes, okay, now what else do we want to talk about?
It's true.
Right.
It's true. Okay, are there any concerns with lazy blogging that your students might have that you need to address in either in this live or in the curriculum? Like if we're doing unforced SEO, that's probably like a concern, and you've talked about that
Hmm.
before.
Yep.
But like, are there any other concerns that your students have or have brought to you as like oh, this is lazy. Like I'm not going to get the results that I want because
Hmm.
it's lazy.
Hmm. Hmm. trying to think. I mean, the formatting thing is a great example of like what you should be
Yeah.
focusing on, what you shouldn't be. And like again, I think I did a pretty good job like explaining why certain types of formatting just aren't really as necessary when your strategy
Mhm.
is to get clients. We kind of touched on the SEO piece, and it's kind of a big topic. I think another thing that people sometimes think about is like one of the reasons I think sometimes people don't have blogs is because they think it's going to take a lot of work to write long form. And so they hear long form and they're like, okay, well, that's probably going to take me 20 times as long as it would take me to write a short form post. So I'm just going to go write a short form post, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I offer, like I said earlier, we have 9 strategic outlines that you follow depending on what type of content you're writing. And I think sometimes people worry that if you're doing the lazy way of writing content using those outlines, that they'll somehow feel like cookie cutter. So
Yeah.
that's a concern I get sometimes. And, you know, the answer to that really is like, there's no way you're going to sound cookie cutter because I teach a 4-step writing process. And the first step before we even like touch any like AI tools that you can potentially use to help if you want, it's optional in my program, but is you
Yeah.
outline based on your own thought leadership. And those outlines are really there to prompt you through deciding what you're going to put in your blog post before you start writing it. And
Yeah.
the nature of them is that like they're asking you questions about what you believe and have experienced yourself. And so I sometimes I like to say like I could have 3 different dietitians in my program, and I do. I probably have 20 dietitians in my program right now.
Yeah.
Um, and they could all write a blog about the same topic and it would be totally different and not be cookie cutter because they all have different approaches and opinions and
Yeah.
you know, frameworks and things like that and stories to tell. So I'd say that's one thing people worry about is like if I blog the lazy way and I use an outline, is it going to sound like everybody else's content? So no, that's exactly what we're like not doing.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, there's the AI conversation. Is it lazy to use AI? That's a whole nother ball of wax.
That's a
You and
whole nother
I,
can of worms. Yeah.
right, you and I both believe that you can use AI to support your writing process, but it shouldn't be. You shouldn't try to be trying to use it to like write your whole process, your whole blog post like end to end.
No.
That's never gonna be good for anybody. But yeah, we believe you can use AI to support your writing and be a little bit more lazy if you want to say it that way. But again, when I say
Yeah.
lazy in this context, I really mean just efficient and not spending time on the things you don't need to that are, you know, that are and still get the results, still get the clients. Um, so like with my 4-step writing process, we only use AI in places where it's not going to sacrifice the conversion aspect of the blog. I'm not going to have
Yeah.
you go into ChatGPT and use like a mega prompt and say like, you know, I need you to write a blog post about, you know, why, like, you know, foods that reduce inflammation and why inflammation reduction is so important for women in menopause or something like that. That's not what we're doing. We're actually outlining first, using the GPT to write, I'm sorry, not to write, but to draft, because that part you can use it for without sacrificing the part that is going to be what is actually going to get people to convert, which is making sure you're covering the things that they need to hear and learn and understand to be ready to buy. So I would
Yeah.
say that's like sometimes people have hesitations about that. I don't know. I can't think of any others. Did you have anything in mind when you asked that question or?
Not particularly, but as you were talking, um I had a call recently, I think it was last Friday, with one of my students, and I actually recommended that she go look at your website and read some of your
Oh,
blog posts
thank you.
and like get familiar with how you teach blogging because
Thanks.
um, she's basically helping like businesses like mine and yours to make hiring decisions and internal like team
Mm.
decisions and like has worked in HR for years
Hmm.
and I'm going to send her this replay actually because I think this video might be good for her.
Hmm.
But like, we were chatting about her blog posts, and she brought up one of her blogs on the screen share, and she'd like spent all this time doing like all this formatting, and I'm like, no,
Hmm.
none of this. Let's do one color,
Hmm.
one font, left adjusted. And she's like,
Hmm.
well, what about the sidebar? And like, what about, I
Hmm.
put the products in there, and like, what
Hmm.
about this? And what about that? And I'm like, no, like
Hmm.
these things are great, but ultimately I don't think that they matter right now. What matters is what's in the content
Hmm.
itself.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
words on the page
right.
matter. And
And
that could be why you're not getting conversions because
Yeah, yeah. You bring up another good point, which is like today we're talking about blogging the lazy way, which is like, just focus on the 20% that gives you the best, all the results and don't do things that you
Yeah,
don't need to get clients if your goal is to get clients with your blog. But another whole layer of this, which we're not even talking about today, is like when you add too much of that stuff, it can actually make it so that your blog's confusing and the user experience sucks too. So
distracting.
that's, yeah, distracting. That's a good word. Yep. So that's another good reason to
Very,
like make sure you're keeping things pretty simple.
yeah, distracting away from the point at hand.
Right. The
So,
thing they need to know from you to feel ready to buy.
um, Zane, there's someone in the chat and they have a kind of a lot of letters in their name, so I'm not quite sure
Okay.
what they're asking or what their name is, but this person says, I'm still new to this. What's the average conversion rate when you blog? And there's no answer to that. That's straightforward. Every industry is so different, and every person's conversion rate is so different. I don't even know that I'd be able to tell you what my conversion rate is, but also, what do you mean when you say conversion rate? Is it conversion rate to from a piece of marketing content to the blog post, conversion rate to your email list, to product sales, to booking a call with you? Like,
Hmm.
I would ask you to dig deeper into what your question is there,
Yeah.
because that might lead you actually to a new set of questions.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to answer that because like you said, there isn't really one answer to it and neither nor like if
Yeah.
we were to try to answer it from the perspective of like, well, what is it in our businesses? There's factors at play that you can't really
Mhm.
measure. Um, the way I think of a blog is that usually what happens, literally what happens, like when my students fill out the sales tracker form in HLC, which is the form they fill out when they've made a sale that in
Yeah.
one way was like influenced either directly or indirectly by their blog. What they're typically telling me is that their clients have read like two or three or four of their blog posts
Hmm.
and booked a call and converted, or read one or two or three or four of their blog posts and bought directly from the sales page that was linked from the blog, depending on what their sales
Yeah.
process is. But my point is that usually people have read more than one blog, and so you don't always know which one was the one that like and it's not like it's
Yep.
like there isn't one that made the conversion, so to speak. It's kind of like,
It's a body of work.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. They're reading your body of work and multiple things that they need to know to feel ready to buy, and then they feel ready to buy. And then everybody's sales processes are set up differently too. So some of my students
Yeah.
who do one-to-one, they want their blog to book a discovery call, and then on the discovery call, they're gonna decide if it's a good fit on both ends.
Yeah.
And then I have other students who just go direct to checkout from their blogs, and then I have other students who have people fill out an application first, and
Hmm.
then they decide if they're going to invite them to a call. So it depends on your sales process as far as how you would measure conversion rate too.
Yeah. Yep. So many things there. But yeah, I would encourage you to continue down the path of learning about blogging and practicing.
Mhm.
I think that it's a good practice. I've been blogging on my website since 2018
Yeah,
on the Heather Farris website, and it's 2026.
amazing.
That's insane.
Yeah,
There's so many blog posts on there, though.
yeah,
We've definitely been working to clean them up, and Sarah has done a phenomenal job of keeping up with that over the last couple of years. It's
yeah.
really only been like the last 18 months that she's had it like all by herself.
Hmm.
And I still will occasionally write a blog post on there, but
Hmm.
um, yeah. Okay. Bottom line, what do people need to know?
Make sure you're not spending too much of your precious time doing things that are things you have learned or think you should do because you learned them from content that wasn't meant for you, content that was supposed to teach people how to be a blogger.
Yeah.
So like you're not a blogger, you're a service provider or a coach or a business owner with a blog that is there to get you
Yeah.
clients. And those are different models. And you
Yeah.
need to make sure you keep that in mind. I've actually had my students tell me that they wrote that down on a sticky. I'm not a blogger. I'm a coach with a blog, or I'm a website designer with a blog, or I'm a physical therapist with a blog, or whatever, and put it up on their, office because they wanted to remember whenever they were working on their blog that they don't need all the bells and whistles that they might think they do if they're following advice from people, who just monetize their blogs differently. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say. It's like it comes down to like you're not a blogger, you're a business owner with a blog, and there's a big difference. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. Next week we have our Pinterest Ask Me Anything. I got so many questions in the last round of Ask Me Anything about a month ago that I'm not going to do a refreshed round of Ask Me Anything questions. We just
Like
have
we still have
so many to
questions. Yeah.
answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will see you back here next week at what time, Jana? 10 a.m. Eastern?
Right.
What time? Yeah, 10 a.m.
Mhm.
Eastern.
Oh,
Um,
wait, is next week the week that we're off, or is that the week after?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
next week. So April 1st, we're actually off.
Oh, so it's the
Um,
8th. Perfect.
it's
So it is
yeah,
our
I'm taking
next
the day
one.
off. It's Passover, and also I have like this like art exhibit that I'm going to. So we're going to take that
Perfect.
day off, and then the following week is when we'll do the AMA, the 8th of April.
So next week we're off. The following week is the Pinterest AMA. So we have in 2 weeks we'll see you back here at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if you have Pinterest questions, you can definitely come join us. Okay, bye. Cool.
That was good. Thanks. Thank you for the highlight episode.